Good evening and welcome to TVWAN News on this Anzac Day. I'm Michael Tamtipais. Dawn services were held in various locations across PNG today, the largest one at the Bommana War Cemetery, where more than 3,000 Australian lies. A moment to reflect the sacrifices made by Australian and New Zealand soldiers in different wars around the globe. The service united Papua New Guineans, Australians, New Zealanders in a moving service that saw hundreds of Australians, including the commander of the Australian 2nd Division, in attendance.
Anzac Day is a gazetted public holiday in the Australian and New Zealand calendars, a time when the citizens there remember the soldiers who died in Gallipoli this day in 1915. The service this morning at the Bommana War Cemetery opened with reflections, as everyone was called to reflect on the sacrifices soldiers at an average age of 20 made for their country. Soldiers as young as 14-year-old Jim Martin, Private Errol West and Private George Leonard were remembered for their bravery. Unknown victims of the war were also remembered.
We'll never know the circumstances of his death. Did he fall advancing towards the enemy, or did some random event instantly end his life? Perhaps he died of wounds, disease, or even exhaustion. We don't know whether he suffered or if his mates were with him to provide comfort to him in his final moments.
While this is Australia and New Zealand's commemorative service, Papua New Guineans who served in World War II were also remembered for their sacrifices.
In Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and further afield on land, at sea and in the air, the Pacific War will not be forgotten. We remember with gratitude the support provided by the Papua New Guinea people who stood shoulder to shoulder with the Australian and New Zealand forces during this troubled time.
The relationship forged on the tracks and jungles between PNG, Australia and New Zealand back then continues to grow today.
And we see contemporary displays of that comradeship here, with New Zealand and Australian personnel from Defence and Police working together with the Papua New Guinea Defence Force and the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, or regional agencies, to ensure sustainable peace and security in our Pacific region. This includes through providing humanitarian assistance to respond to disasters such as the recent tropical cyclone Maila.
And today we acknowledge that strong defence force operating alongside diplomacy and regional cooperation is a vital instrument for regional stability and preventing future conflict.
For the commander of the Australian 2nd Division, Major General Matt Baer, the Bommana Dawn service was also personal.
One of those men is Private Bruce Kingsbury. Kingsbury served with the 2nd 14th Battalion and was killed during the fighting at Isarava in 1942. When his platoon was pinned down and suffering heavy casualties, he charged forward through intense fire, firing from the hip, breaking the enemy assault and allowing his section to regroup. For that action, Private Bruce Kingsbury was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross. Kingsbury was 24 years old.
The Bommana War Cemetery contains 3,828 Commonwealth burials from the Second World War. 701 still to this day are unidentified, and every year the Anzac service presents the opportunity to pay homage to their selflessness, their sacrifice, and also to remember their family. This cemetery holds more dead than any other Commonwealth cemetery in the world. Ruth Rungola, TV1 News.
A dawn service was held in Alotau to commemorate the Anzac Day. Milne Bay is where the Battle of Alotau took place, and Anzac services are also a tradition there.
Anzac Day in Alotau and Milne Bay as a whole holds immense significance as a commemoration of the first major Allied land victory against the Japanese in World War II. Alotau is considered a crucial part of the Pacific Campaign where the Battle of Millet Bay was fought in 1942. As the world commemorates Anzac Day, Alotau also held a dawn service at the Alotau Memorial to commemorate this day. The gathering was to honor and remember the courage, sacrifice and service of those who fought for freedom.
Anzac Day is a special day for Australia and New Zealand, as it is like a remembrance day that we remember those servicemen and women that have fallen in various battles over our nation's histories, and those allies such as the PNG who have assisted.
Retired Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Tobessa highlighted the importance of Anzac to Millet Bay.
In August and September 1942, here, the Japanese Special Naval Landing Force came head-to-head with the men of the 7th Brigade, supported by the airmen of 75 and 76 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force. The battle goes down in the history books as the first decisive land defeat of Japanese imperial forces, and in conjunction with the actions of the Battle of the Coral Sea, was seen as a pivotal point in the war.
Despite a small ceremony outside of Port Moresby, the service there holds great significance to not just Australians, but the locals there. Ruth Rongola, TV1 News.
Across Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific, as the sun begins to rise, war veterans, government representatives, family members and relatives will gather in silence for a ritual that has remained unchanged for over a century. The words are familiar to millions, a promise of eternal remembrance for those who died selflessly. Tonight, we look at the history of the Ode of Remembrance and why those 4 lines continue to echo across the world today during commemorative services.
It is a tradition that has lived on for generations. Since 1921, the Ode has been the most important part of memorial services, a moment when everyone stops and honors those who died.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. As a former soldier, it means a lot to me. I remember the men who fought along with me, who served under me, and who lost their lives in duty. I recall a time when we went on operations in Bommana and a few of my soldiers did not come back. It brings that emotion where the soldiers sacrificed their lives and were killed. And when we come back and we do a head count of men who went out on operations and they don't come back, we feel that emotion of them that we lost. So when the ode is read, I always remember my soldiers who served with me.
This ode has become synonymous with Anzac service, but its origin lies far north in England. The ode is actually the 4th stanza of a poem titled For the Fallen, written by English poet Lawrence Binyon. He wrote it in 1914, shortly after the start of World War I, as news of devastating losses reached home. By 1919, the poem was chosen for the unveiling of the London Cenotaph, and soon it was adopted as a memorial tradition by many Commonwealth nations. Today, whether at national ceremonies or at small memorial services, variations of the service may have changed, but the core remains. It is a commitment to remember the fallen. At the rising of the sun to the setting of the sun, we shall remember them.
There were many men who lost their lives in different parts of Papua New Guinea, and more than 3,000 are buried here at the Bommana War Cemetery in Port Moresby. Bommana stands as Australia's largest war cemetery, and here is buried John Francis Jackson, the commanding officer of 75 Squadron, after whom the Jackson's International Airport is named. This Anzac Day, we honor Jackson for his bravery to save the 7-mile strip, now Jackson's International Airport.
John Francis Jackson was home from fighting in the Middle East just in time when Australia had just formed the new 75 Air Squadron to participate in the war that was happening up north in the Pacific following the bombing of Pearl Harbor. John was 34 years old and was called into command the squadron, which comprised of mainly young men who had barely any experience on these Kitty Hawks. On April 10, on a solo reconnaissance overlay, 3 Mitsubishi Zeros found him alone. His words describe what followed. The Kitty Hawk was shot to ribbons. The windscreen shattered, the cockpit caught fire. He landed the plane in the water about 3/4 of a mile from the shore near a village. He got out of the plane just seconds before it sank. Mission Tout, 2 locals found him with a bullet in his hand. For 8 days, they walked him through dense jungle and over the ranches towards the Australian outpost at Wau. His pilots, most of whom were in their early 20s, called him Old John. At 7 Mile Strip in Port Moresby, they believed he was dead. Jackson reached Wau on April 23rd and was flown back to his squadron in Port Moresby. The man who had mourned him for a fortnight watched him climb out of a Douglas Dauntless, visibly worn, still nursing the bandaged end. 5 days after his return, on April 28, 1942, Jackson led the squadron's 5 remaining airworthy Kitty Hawks against 8 Japanese bombers and 12 Zeros over Port Moresby. He shot down a Zero, but his own aircraft was also shot and went down the forest near Mount Loss. John Jackson is buried at the Bommana War Cemetery. The airfield he flew from in March and April 1942, the one his pilot scrambled out of day after day while he was missing in the jungle, is now Jackson's International Airport, Port Moresby. Today we remember the grazier from Queensland and the bonds of courage forged in the jungle, lest we forget.
TVWAN News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. A total of 47 students graduated from the Asia Pacific Institute of Applied Social Economic and Technical Studies this week in Port Moresby. This is the 12th graduation since the establishment of the institution in 2010.
The 12th Asia-Pacific Institute of Applied Social Economic and Technical Studies, or APSET's graduation, witnessed the passing out of 47 students who graduated in certificate and diploma programs in various disciplines. Director of APSET's Thomas Pillar paid tribute to students for their time at the institution and wished them well in their future as they pursue their career in the trained disciplines. He further said, since the establishment of the institution in 2010, they have been working to produce competitive graduates that can contribute meaningfully in the nation building. The Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture, Belden Nama, attended the ceremony as guest of honor, commended the school for its role in giving second chance to students who can't make it through the formal school system. Nama encouraged the graduating class of 2026 to have faith in themselves and contribute positively to the country's development, as their skills and knowledge will play an important role in nation building. Nama's visit was warmly welcomed as he becomes the first state minister to visit the institution since its establishment. Rex Litter, TVWAN News.
Former soldier Ben Robert Smith has attended an Anzac Dawn service in Queensland. The veteran and Victoria Cross recipient is awaiting trial for 5 counts of the war crime of murder. While he has yet to enter a plea, he has strenuously denied the allegations, which stem from alleged actions during his service in Afghanistan.
I'm at Currumbin Beach on the Gold Coast, usually host to Australia's largest Anzac Day dawn service outside of a capital city. People really flocking to see Elephant Rock behind me, the sunrise coming above it. Now, this morning it's been a bit of a different picture, mostly because of the weather. We were met with plenty of rain throughout the service this morning, but albeit people pushed through, pulling out their umbrellas to enjoy what was a very sombre service. Moving moments include a really unique portion of the event, which saw a paddle out of sorts where Gold Coasters took to their boats, taking out with them the ashes of veterans who would then have a portion of their ashes spread at sea, honouring their final wishes and really making for what already is a day full of so much remembrance all that more important. Now, today's event also saw a special guest in Ben Roberts-Smith. He attended the event after being bailed from Sydney's Silverwater prison last week to a Queensland address and instead attended this morning the Currumbin service. Now, he kept a very low profile through the service and only at the end was he met with members of the public who approached him to shake his hand. Also, he had a few words to say for the media.
We owe them a deep Are you always going to come today, or were you thinking about maybe not coming? I've never thought about not coming. I was always going to be here.
Ben Roberts-Smith, the Victorian Cross recipient, awaiting trial on 5 counts of the war crime of murder. Now, he's yet to enter a plea, although he does vehemently deny the charges and says that he will be fighting them. Now, he quite quickly left the service at the end after meeting with some of the members of the public, shaking hands with people there and, of course, leaving with his family. Now, so too did a lot of the crowd that had enjoyed the service here at Currumbin Beach, and they've likely gone to the local RSL to ready themselves perhaps for a game of 2-up.
New research from the Stroke Foundation has found the Northern Territory's ability to recognize the symptoms of an impending stroke at the west in the country. One woman who has been through the experience hopes that will change.
After a life-changing incident 4 years ago, Darwin mum Alison Reedy couldn't imagine she'd be here today.
I woke up to the worst headache of my life. I'd describe it as an ice pick behind my eye here and a pulling band, like a tearing sensation across up here.
After months of sporadic symptoms like vertigo and fatigue, the then 38-year-old thought it was just a migraine.
The headache got worse. I started dry retching. The room was spinning. I couldn't hear properly. I couldn't see out of this eye at all, and I was starting to not see out of this eye either.
She was rushed to hospital.
They did a CT scan very quickly, and I won't forget the poor nurse coming up to me saying that I just wanted to know, do you know you've had a stroke? And I went, oh, no.
Sometimes the signs can be subtle, and it can be as little as general confusion or, a bit of slurred speech that then resolves as well. So it's not always obvious.
The acronym used in an emergency is FAST. F is their face drooping, A, can they lift both their arms, S is their speech slurred, and T, time is critical. And it's a word Territorians should know.
In the Northern Territory, awareness of the signs of stroke and the symptoms and what to do is actually lower than the rest of the country, which is really concerning.
During her recovery, Alison relied on mobility aids, but gradually regained her movement and is now a leader in para-athletics. She hopes others going through the same experience are better equipped than she was to recognise the signs. A reminder to think fast.
Sport is up next. I'll join you on the other side with all your news in sports. Stay with Cook Islands has booked its spot in the OFC Under-16 Women's Championships, topping the qualifying tournament after a hard-fought draw with PNG in Port Moresby. PNG and Cook Islands engaged in a tough battle for the sport. However, the Cook Islands advanced into OFC Under-16 Women's Championship given their higher goal difference in the previous victory against the American Samoa earlier this week. Papua New Guinea needing a win started on the front. The junior Bilums pressed heavily, moving the ball quickly and looking to break through with direct passes. Delma Duadak returned in the 15th minute, besting into the box, but Cook Islands defender Mamia Perisevic produced a crucial intervention to stop the danger. Cook Islands remained disciplined and nearly took the lead themselves in the 33rd minute. A corner caused confusion in the area, falling to Teniva Tau on the edge of the box, but Hereford flew over the bar. Papua New Guinea eventually made their pressure count in the 38th minute. A well-crafted move led by Oskalina Gunemba unlocked the defense, and Joylyn Lisa finished confidently to give the host a 1-0 lead at halftime. Cook Islands lifted their intensity after the break and came close from a free kick, but goalkeeper Helena George produced a fine save to keep Papua New Guinea in front. The turning point arrived just after the hour. Teha Nareiga found fault in the box, and Metua Maru Arere calmly converted the resulting penalty to level the match. With momentum on their side, Cook Islands pushed forward while Papua New Guinea threw numbers ahead late on in search of a winner, but the Cook Islands defense held firm. The 1-1 draw was enough to seal qualification, capping a resilient performance and sending Cook Islands through to the OFC Under-16 Women's Championship in Honiara. Papua New Guinea national football representative and veteran Ley City goalkeeper Ronald Warrison has returned to the Premier Soccer League competition after a long 12 months on the sidelines, recovering from injury. His leadership, composure, and shot-stopping ability have been missed, but his journey back to the full fitness is a testament to his grit and dedication to the game and club. He thanked Ley City Football Club for their support during his recovery period since 2024. Team PNG is in full swing with their preparation ahead of the 2026 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland in July. The Basketball Federation of Papua New Guinea has been preparing its players for the inaugural 3x3 event in Glasgow Games.
Players of Team PNG have been engaged in high-performance training to qualify the athletes for the Glasgow Games in Scotland. Athletics PNG, amongst others, announced 30 athletes have been selected to undergo high-performance testing with PNG Olympic Committee to decide on the final team depending on the quota. For Basketball Papua New Guinea, the competition to secure a place in the final team has been intense as the players met on courts over the last 2 weekends in the qualifying trial matches. President of PNG Basketball Federation David Peter confirmed that his players have completed trials and selected a team, but still going through the finalization process. This is to ensure they follow due process, and team will be announced next week. Peter said 20 PNG athletes who are on the top FIBA Global 3x3 ranking were invited to attend the selection trials. However, 12 turned up and did high-performance test, of which 4 have been selected and 2 will be non-traveling reserves. He further said the team will travel to Gold Coast and participate in FIBA 3x3 from the 20th to 28th May 2026 as lead-up game to the Commonwealth Games. They will then finalize the squad and announce the team for the Commonwealth Games. PNG Basketball Federation will send a team to the Commonwealth Games for the first time, and the Federation is committed to ensure the team represents the country well at the Glasgow Games. Rex Lita, TVWAN Sports.
We apologize we couldn't bring you tonight's weather report as it was not provided to us by the National Weather Service. And that's been the TV1 News this Saturday, 25th April 2026. From the news team, good night.